Good morning and welcome to the Core Connection. I'm Mira Rubin here with you on Enlightened World Network. And today's topic is courage. Courage is not the lack of fear. Courage is having the conviction to move forward in the face of fear, to face the fear. Good morning, Rosalind. So good to have you here with us this morning. And welcome to everybody else who's joining us. We're going to talk about courage today and the courage of one's convictions and how courage can be a way that we get to see ourselves, in the face of our fear. So it should be very stimulating conversation. But before we get started, let's take a minute or two to get present. Let's take a deep breath in through your nose and hold it. And imagine clean, crisp oxygen flooding your lungs, flowing into your bloodstream, nourishing all your cells and your organs, and bringing vital life energy to your body and being. And as you exhale any tension, stress, negativity, fatigue. And now let's take another deep breath in through your nose and hold it. And this time, imagine brilliant, bright light lighting you up from the inside out, illuminating, electrifying, and energizing all your cells and your molecules and your electrons, and creating this brilliant beam of light from your heart out into the world. And as you exhale any remaining tension, stress, negativity, fatigue. Now let's press our palms together. Rub your hands vigorously together to feel the friction, the temperature, the texture, the buzzing, the energy moving in your fingers, in your palms, between your hands. Allow that sensation to bring you present right here, right now, into the remarkable body, this remarkable form through which you experience all of life. Welcome. So glad to have this time with you and to be talking about courage. I was so profoundly inspired yesterday by a friend who is connecting so deeply with their personal conviction, despite fear of potential danger, even to step forward and take positive action, inspired action. I can't tell you how profoundly moving it is and was to be in the presence of someone who had the clarity about their commitments on such a deep level as to step into the calling that they were experiencing. So here's the thing, when we step into purpose, when it's true purpose, typically my experience is that it's terrifying. It's terrifying potentially because of the scope of that demand, because of the scale of it. It seems so monumental. It means stepping up into a level of being that is beyond what we experience as our current capacity, if that makes sense. So it means stepping into the unknown and into a willingness to go beyond our perceived limitations, to go beyond our perceived identity, to go beyond the safety that is inherent in that identity, that fixed knowingness about ourselves. And so that act of courage, Rosalind says, does courage imply there is danger? Well, that's such a great, great question. I would say that courage implies going beyond what may be personally perceived as a danger that could be an actual physical danger. It could be a danger of failure. It could be a danger of needing to change your perception of who you are. You know, I have worked with so many people and also encountered for myself the threat of challenging our notion of who we are. Hello, hello, Sophia. So glad to have you joining us this morning. We're talking about courage, and that courage is not the lack of fear. Courage is taking inspired action despite the fear. You know, when we have the courage of our conviction, you know, that's our soul welling up to express itself and saying, this action is calling for you, is calling for your attention. And it's a powerful, powerful, transformative thing. And I don't know who Abby Smith is, Sophia. I'm sorry, maybe you'll share that. Anyway, courage is courage is something that when we have these opportunities in our lives to move into our more authentic expression, it can be terrifying to to step up. Oh, thank you, Sophia. Great. So Sophia said she's adding Abby Smith to this conversation. I think that this is a time that calls for courage from all of us. That there are many things that the world is calling for that require us to expand beyond the limitations that we imagine for ourselves, and to be willing to take on something that is bigger than us. You know, that's what gives us the courage. That's what gives us the courage, is to say, you know what, this, I know that something needs to be done here. And it needs to, you know, I'm the one to do it. And I don't know how, and I don't know, you know, it's scary because, you know, maybe there is a real danger, but this is what I'm being called to do. And it means overcoming ourselves, stepping into a different quantum dimension of experience. It really is stepping into another layer, a different quantum field, to step into something like that. The act of that act of courage means surpassing ourselves. We've been talking a lot about how do we transform our way of thinking and our way of being. And all of those actions, transforming our way of being, transforming our way of thinking, letting go of who we believed ourselves to be able to become what we came here to be, um, is a profound act of courage. And good morning, Gia. So good to have you here with us this morning. We're talking about courage and courage of conviction, and um, how facing our fears and acting in the face of our fears is. Good morning, Annie. Welcome. So good to have you here with us. Welcome for this conversation about courage. Um, Stepping into our courage is, taking the leap. Like there's this driver that's saying, emerge, come forth, stand for what you believe in. And the thing is that in that moment of courage, in taking that step, in meeting those fears, that is how we come to know ourselves. That's how we come to be in fuller expression of ourselves and our potential. When we are moved to do, um, or act uh, in service to something greater, like this is bigger than me. I'm in service to this. This is something that I need to do. My soul is calling for me to do. I'm terrified, but I'm stepping into it. That is courage. So Annie says, I surely need it. I've been afraid to show my gifts to the whole world. So Annie, you are so not alone. And we can look at this conversation about courage from so many different angles. So Annie says, I'm coming out of being afraid mentally. Yes. Well, so here's the thing. All our fears are mental to begin with. It's all based on our perception. It doesn't mean that there aren't real dangers, but when we can perceive dangers and also perceive ways to navigate those dangers, right? So there is a level of trust behind courage. Facing our fear, there is a level of trusting that call, or saying, this is worthy of my, whatever the cause is, or it's typically in moving towards something greater. So Annie, for instance, you're talking about sharing your gifts. We hide, right? It takes courage to stand forth and declare your gifts, or take a stand, that is in alignment with the core of your being. It can be terrifying. And so to take that step, whether it's to share your gifts with the world, or whether it's to align with a cause, or whether it's to address someone that you're afraid to address, but you are feeling the calling and the powerful impulse that this needs to be done. They're arising to those fears. Having the courage of our convictions doesn't mean the fear goes away. It does mean that we step into a greater expression of our authentic selves. And so Rosalind says, if courage is stepping into a higher vibration to face whatever is there to challenge or derail you, then courage will I think there's a word missing. So if courage is stepping into a higher vibration to face whatever is there to challenge or derail you, then courage, will, safety, strength, power, exactly. There's incredible power. We need to harness all that energy to overcome our internal resistance, our internal, which is that fear, all of our internal resistance. There's all this energy that has to come together to step into taking that action. It is a quantum shift. It is a profound and quantum shift. And it's a shift that emboldens us and enlivens us to be a greater expression that we came here to be. When we are moved to step beyond our comfort zone, we're moved by a passion about something, to step outside the comfortable, even though they're often uncomfortable, comfortable boundaries. As one of my clients says, my favorite, miserable. When we are moved to rally the courage and the energy to step out of our favorite, miserable, then we emerge to a higher level of being. And it's inspiring as all get out to be present, to witness someone taking that step. It's a leap of faith and conviction and power and strength. It's just so deeply, profoundly moving and inspiring to others to be able to do the same. So Annie says, I have helped many, but to come in a more public fashion has scared me at times. I get it, Annie. I get it. And it sounds like you're coming out right here. You're declaring that you have these abilities or these skills to be able to step into that place of being who you are. There's an ownership, a new level of ownership and sovereignty that allows us to then be more present in the world. And I know that these times are times that are calling for that deep courage in all of us, to rise to addressing the possibilities that we can create in the world, to transform our way of being. Gia says, I resonate with what you are saying, as I have felt fear and anxiety on very, very, very high level through my life, but I never gave up. That's the key, Gia. I never gave up, and now I see those feelings coming up every now and then, but my way of dealing with it or facing it or the way I'm present to it is 360 degrees changed. Congratulations on that, Gia. That is so profound. And truly, by facing those fears, by continuing on, you have transformed it, which is remarkable and to your great credit. I feel so much more alive, free, and energetic. My entire personality is transforming. It's something I'm witnessing every single day. Gia, that's remarkable. Congratulations. And Annie, you are so welcome. And yes, Annie says, never giving up. Exactly. It does take courage in, when we experience fear and anxiety and despair and depression and all of these pain, to be putting one foot in front of the other even takes courage to continue to to persist, that also takes courage. And that courage is transformative. You know, that when you are, your heart is racing and you might even be shaking, but to step into the declaration of your commitment is one of the most profoundly transformative experiences you can experience. And it carries you forward. So, you know, my example is just when I really chose to embrace the vision of the eco park and really dedicate my life to that, which is really dedicating my life to planetary transformation and healing our relationship with the earth and with nature. It was like, who am I to have that vision, you know? But stepping into it, it was terrifying because it was stepping completely into the unknown. I had no idea how it was going to happen. No game plan for how it was going to emerge or evolve. And it's still emerging and evolving, but it has given me my life. And so when we step into these powerful callings, despite our own fear or terror, you know, when we step beyond that, that's courage. That's courage. And that expression of courage gives us our lives in all truth. So Gia says, you have been my role model in this journey. And what has worked for me is to have people who are ahead of you and who have done it what you want to do. Elaine has also been inspiring, and I met her because of this show. Can't express my gratitude enough for you. Gia, thank you for that. Thank you so much for that. And the thing to be alert to, I'm honored and humbled, and I just want to say we're all in this together, you know, and be wary of putting people on pedestals. No pedestal for me. You know, please. I'm an arm in arm person because I stumble and fall too. I need people to help me up too. And you know, we're all in this together. This isn't about one person leading the charge. It's, you know, like you said, Gia, maybe somebody, maybe one or two steps ahead, you know, and we can carry and encourage each other along the way, right? So Rosalind says an expression of courage is conviction and passion. I agree. You know, it's like that, to step into our conviction, to be willing to have ownership of our conviction and our passion, that is an expression of courage. And especially, you know, when it can be in the face of people misunderstanding or criticizing you or judging you or trying to obstruct you. You know, courage is having the courage to be addressing all of those obstacles, to have the courage to get up again when you stumble. You know, that's what it's about. That's what it's about. And being in alignment with the calling of your heart, of your deepest heart, to be present and aware of what is calling you and to honor it enough to face your fear around it with courage and conviction. Now, the thing about conviction, I just want to say, is we can often get really attached and righteous about our conviction to the point where we have an arrogance that obscures the periphery or additional information or additional input or additional knowledge that may allow our conviction and our passion to shift in its expression. And so it's not about being fixed in our attention or our position. It's not about being immovable. It's about being engaged in a dynamic, in a conversation, in an evolution. We want, when we try to impose structures on things, and those structures are immutable, those structures are doomed, because life is ever changing. And so we get to have our conviction and our passion, and we get to be in a dance with life and what's evolving. Gia says, I think it's very important to define courage for our own self in any given moment. Sometimes to even stand at one plane for a minute was like so difficult. What is courage for you? May or may not be for me. Exactly. We all need to define it our own way again and again and again. The definitions keep changing themselves. Exactly, Gia. That's what we're talking about, is, being in the dance. Let's say I've had this opinion for forever. It can take tremendous courage to be willing to change your opinion or your perspective. It can take tremendous courage because it threatens who you thought you were. It makes you shift a notion of who you are. And that takes courage to be willing to grow, to change, to evolve. So I'm so glad to have this conversation with you today. This is really powerful, and I am so grateful for the inspiration that I received from really experiencing this person step into their courage. It was profoundly moving and inspiring and uplifting and hopeful. And so with that, that's it for this morning. I'm Mira Rubin. This is the Core Connection, and I go live here on the Enlightened World Network Facebook page and YouTube channel every weekday morning at 9 a.m. Eastern. Hi, Dido. So glad to have you here with us. And I invite you to check out all the other awesome programming on Enlightened World Network, on EWN One with the Earth, and on Enlightened World Living. And thank you, Annie. We hope to see you back here more often. And you are all so welcome, and so much gratitude to all of you. I look forward to seeing you here again really, really soon. So much love to you.